Good evening, ladies and gents. This is the Elbows Down MotoGP podcast. This is the Argentinian MotoGP review, a shorter one. We are lacking Alex this week, but we all have lives. It happens now and again. We are joined, though, thankfully, by the podcast's best friend, Keelan, who obviously is massively into MotoGP, has worked in Barcelona for Dorna, and he'll be going to a GP with me this year. How are you, Keelan? You good?
Mate, I am really, really good. The powers that be have tried to stop us several times from recording tonight, but we've managed to get it all together. We're back, we're making it happen, and we're discussing all things Argentina. It's good to be back.
Yeah, yeah, we've had some technicality tonight, folks. But we don't need to go into that. We're here now, so it's fine. I think I tend to find myself defending this sport now and again because we do love it. It is hard to defend sometimes when you think, crikey, this season's going to be a bit of a whitewash. Marc Marquez now has not lost a sprint or a race, four in a row. He's led a lot of sessions. We're talking a lot of poles as well. So, what are your thoughts? I mean, when will the winning streak? There are a few questions there. I'm going to put you right on the spot, mate. When will his winning streak end? I mean, surely not Austin. I'll give you that. And who's going to be the first to do it?
Man, that's a really good question. Spoiler alert, I agree. It's definitely not going to be Austin. I'd be shocked above anything if it's the US Grand Prix. To tell you the truth, mate, I really don't know. And that's just the truth. But this is why, perhaps for the first time in a while, I'm actually really excited for the European rounds because those are the equalizer tracks where we have all the data. And if anybody's going to beat Mark, it's going to be in Europe. It's going to be a Jerez or a San Marino or somewhere like this. It won't be the Saxon Ring just because it never is, but it will be one of those tracks where everybody's on an equal footing, an equal playing field, and we have all the data. It is important for folks to remember that we're only two race weekends in, and they are two real X Factor tracks where Mark's talent can make the difference. We are going to be at a lot more conventional tracks where everybody knows the lay of the land, everybody has the data, and it should hopefully get a lot more competitive as the season goes on. That being said, Mark has vanquished everything in front of him at the moment, so it will be fascinating to see how long this streak continues.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I posted a tweet the other day,
Hmm.
um, albeit ironic because Alex pulled me up like, you realise you've said people aren't the brightest about the subject, but you've actually spot there wrong. I was like, oh shit. Anyway, and that's usually an OCD, so it's even worse. I was basically saying, everyone last year was saying Mark cannot win properly and or enough races last year because that GP23 was it such a technological disadvantage to 24 with Pecco and Martin cleaning up most of the races, and we all wanted him on on the red bike. We'll have the rivalry. We'll have the Senna Prost era. The 2007 Alonso Hamilton or the Rossi Lorenzo 2009. We'll have all that. We'll have these things we wanted. But I think we forgot. It is a case of be careful what you wish for. It is literally the definition. This is the definition of be careful what you wish for, isn't it? Because, we might be speaking too soon. This brings me on to my next point. Because what I was going to say was, Pecco isn't 100% comfortable right now. He's not got the same feeling with the bike as he had with the pure GP24, not this GP24.9, let's say.
Mm.
So when that comes back, do you think he can be on terms with just Alex and beat Alex Marquez for second? Because Alex Marquez isn't going anywhere. He's just going to be as strong every race you could almost have. Can he be on terms with Mark? Because I think you're right, it will be the European races. Maybe Qatar before Jerez. But do we really think that? I mean, could it? Because Marquez, this is obviously speculating a bit because Marquez might already be in Pecco's head a bit. And no
Mm.
matter how good the bike is, that could be quite a big playing factor in his head that I haven't got anything for this guy. But then surely he's good enough for second, right? To beat Alex Marquez when everything's fine soon.
Yeah, it's a very interesting scenario, and I'm going to tell you why. Pecco historically is quite a slow burner and a slow starter. It takes him 3 or 4 race weekends to get into the rhythm of things, especially with a new bike, and especially like you said, the Ducati 24.9 bike makes it even more interesting. I do think as the season goes on and as they work out the kinks, Pecco will become a lot more comfortable. Mark, to his credit, has hit the ground running, and a lot of us thought that he would. And Alex Marquez has really hit the ground running as well. That being said, when Jorge Martin comes back and when Pecco starts to get into the groove, I do see this becoming a lot more competitive. People are reacting in the moment and they're thinking, oh, that's it. It's two race weekends. It's done.
I know, and that's what I
MotoGP.
was saying as well. It's just like, in that, sorry to interrupt. Like people are saying, as soon as he wins two races, I said I'm not watching anymore. This is boring. The same people that wanted him on the factory decay. Just protect your sport, but defend it. Try and get by. Look, sometimes it wasn't even that boring that race. We've seen better,
No.
but it was probably a more entertaining race in Thailand, in my opinion, because at least Mark was forced into a mistake. One. And also, I think twice his foot slipped off the footrest trying to keep up with Alex when he was chasing him. That was a genuine mistake three times, three different mistakes. But Mark trying to keep up with Alex until to the point where he'd saved his tire, and then at the end he realised, oh, I've got enough tire now. I can just clean him. Sorry, pass him cleanly. But this thing is, Alex is on a pure GP24. So is Franco Morbidelli. And of course, you've also got Aldeguer, I know. But you've also got Fabio Di Antonio, who is on a GP25. So in time, some of these riders are going to gain traction as well. So Pecco really has to up his game, doesn't he? I think Davide Tardozzi will surely be giving him a swift kick in the balls, so soon. I mean, at the same time, do you think Ducati are that bothered? Think, well, we've got a marketing genius winning all the races. Do we really care? Surely they do. He's Italian. They want a 1-2, or they want Pecco winning. But I'm not sure. I'd love to know how their mentality sometimes. You know,
Well, that's
they don't look bad right now. It just makes their Italian um, their project, which was Pecco. Their golden boy. They've picked. They've hired the best rider in the world, and then their golden boy is now looking good, but not excellent. I wonder if they care that much to make sure that Pecco can beat Mark. Because that could interrupt Mark's race. I mean, this is management must be thinking like he won't get near, or they're thinking if we get him too close. I mean, I would love to know. I would love to be a fly in the room, wouldn't you? I mean, in some of these meetings.
Well, I think this is a really, really fascinating point you just brought up because I think it highlights if you look at Gigi Dall'Igna and Davide Tardozzi, they're two very, very different characters. Tardozzi is kind of the emotion run leader. You see with the behind the scenes Ducati documentary, and he's saying to Pecco, wake up, Jorge Martin slapping you around the track. Whereas Gigi Dall'Igna is much more of a methodical, ruthless, machine-like leader. And to be honest, I don't think Gigi Dall'Igna cares which Ducati wins as long as a Ducati wins. I don't think it bothers him if it's Marquez or it's Bagnaia. I do think, though, with Davide Tardozzi, obviously being Italian and obviously having an immense amount of national pride working for Ducati, I think for Tardozzi, perhaps it could be more of an issue. But if I'm Gigi Dall'Igna and I'm thinking the way he thinks, as long as Ducati are at the top, I really don't think I think it could be Fermin Aldeguer winning, and I don't think it would bother him all that much. As long as it's a red bike winning, I don't think he would care. But it's an interesting dynamic, and a lot more will become clear over the course of the season, I think. And this is why I want Pecco to be competitive, because if it's like a Rossi Lorenzo situation, it's fascinating to see who gets the edge in that battle within the team. Obviously, we haven't got to see it because Mark's just started the season so well. But what I will say to people is give it time. Pecco gets better as the season goes on. You will see more battles between the two. Just have some patience. That's all I'm saying.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I've been spouting this. This is also just factual. It's not just because I love defending the sport, because I hate it when people draw really quick conclusions. In a 22 Grand Prix season, I think it's 22. Um, that we can. People like to do this. Look, Mark is the favourite. I think he will probably win the championship because I think he won't win every race, but when we come to Jerez and the races, Mugello, as you said San Marino as well. I really think that Pecco could get pole, get a good start. Mark will be second, and then Mark might try and rough him up. But Pecco is very good at fighting back. When everything is working well for Pecco, take Jerez last year, for example. Mark caught him on a Euro bike, which was definitely inferior. Pecco had an answer for him straight away.
Yeah.
Valentino Rossi has taught Pecco to immediately retaliate. Retaliate immediately, otherwise they will go. So if he has got good setting, he has got good qualifying, he's up there with Mark and he's already in front. He will have an answer and he will fight back. He's not a pushover, Pecco Bagnaia. So I think it's just finding that setting, or it's just. I mean, if he gets just a pure GP24 and the latest suspension or the latest electronics or the latest geometry, whatever is behind the scenes in 25, and no, I want my old bike back. I want what I won the Solidarity Grand Prix bike back. I want everything the same. That could be done, and it wouldn't break the rules. The thing is, the issue there is if Mark still kicks his ass on that one, then we're in trouble. Unless we get to Jerez and he's still faster than Mark. But it's just going to be a patience game, guys. Like Keelan said, Pecco will get better in Europe. We also don't have the world champion. The world champion is not racing right now. If you look at how strong Ayagura has been, granted, we'll get on to the results in a minute. He didn't keep his finish, but he kept it. He had a fantastic P5 in Thailand. Look how good the Aprilia is, and can be.
Yeah.
So we haven't got the world champion right now. Someone said on the internet the other day, I said, I thought this championship would be closer with Martino at Aprilia and Pecco still on a good bike. I was like, what are you talking about? Martin went riding. Funnily enough, I didn't get a response, but anyway.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wonder why.
yeah, oh yeah. But yeah, we'll talk. But yeah, moving on from that because we'll have to wait and see with Pecco. I think it will happen in time. He will beat Mark, and then you've got something.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of going on to as the season progresses, Martin should be back in Qatar. He's going to try and come back in Qatar. What have you heard on that as well? Through the grapevine, Keelan.
Yeah, basically the same as you, Jim. We all know the struggles he's had. He was never going to be fit for Argentina, so I have no idea why those rumors were put out there. That never made any sense. Like you, I've heard that Qatar is what they're circling for him to return. I will say though briefly on Martin before we move on. I really like the rule Aprilia proposed about allowing the rider to test before they
Yeah.
come back. I don't get why Ducati would veto that. I think that makes a ton of sense, and it's a very fair way of, reintegrating a rider who suffered an injury. Obviously, we don't have to get into that. I'm just saying I like that proposal. I think that makes sense.
No, I like it as well. Yeah. It didn't surprise me that they vetoed that. Honestly, it really did not surprise me. Because they know that it could help him. Potentially click straight. Oh, that I did 60 laps today, and I feel okay. And that's 60 laps. You don't get that in a race weekend.
True.
You don't get that in practice. Ducati have thought about this, and they think, let's say he's okay, his injury's okay, he's been in a hyperbolic chamber or whatever to speed up the bone and everything, and he gets a free test, right? He's got 60 laps. He can just about get by. Let's say he sneaks into gear Q2 and he can get a top five or something really incredible. Of course, Ducati they've got the power because how the manufacturer of Power MotoGP is really annoying. They've vetoed that for that reason. I mean, it's not final yet. I don't think, is it? It's not final. He might still get a test. They haven't said it's final that he won't. But yeah, the manufacturer of power is too great, and Ducati knew that they thought, well, it's just an advantage thing, isn't it? They don't want to give him any because if he does click with this, even injured, it's still a long season. Anything can happen.
Oh, without a doubt. And what's interesting with Jorge Martin, especially, notwithstanding the fact he's the reigning world champion, if you remember the Barcelona postseason tests, Martin said that the front end feel on the Aprilia is the best front end feel he's ever had. And Martin's a very front end heavy rider. So, like you said, if he clicks with the RSGP, this championship could be a 3 or 4 horse race if he gets back into it, which would, of course, be brilliant.
I think the championship would be hard, very hard, but he could interrupt races and start winning, and he could.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, if Aguirre can do it, why can't the world champion do it? You know?
Well, that's it there.
Yeah. I mean, Aguirre didn't. Aguirre actually he managed to just miss out on the Moto3 World Championship. Jorge Martin didn't. He won it in 2018, and in Moto2 he was extremely fast as well. Was Jorge. So these Aguirre and Jorge Martin. Why am I comparing them? Well, I'm comparing them because they're both riding an RSGP. Well, Jorge's about to get back on one. Bez has had an unlucky Argentinian Grand Prix, if I'm brutally honest. Uh, or knocking off Fabio Quartararo at the first corner and ruining his race really. And Bez obviously not finishing. It was quite annoying because I think Bez is better than this, and he showed it. He showed some real promise in testing. Yeah, I know. I mean, we all get carried away at testing. Me and Alex definitely do. And you think, oh, Yamaha looking good in Sepang, and I was like, whoa, just hang fire. But the Aprilias did look convincingly fast. I just don't know I don't know how long it'll take with Bez. He's done better than I thought he would. And the reason for that is I think Bez looked very accustomed to the Ducati in 23.
Mm.
I don't know what it was. It was just a gut feeling. I don't know how much adaptation he could give. So it was probably an ignorant thing from me, but I was impressed with Bez in the preseason. I think in time he'll get there. But it would not surprise me at all. I don't know if you agree with this. As soon as Martin comes back, give it another race, he'll be faster than him already. Well, I don't know if that would be because of just I need to get up to speed. What do you think? Do you think in time that as soon as Martin gets back, or a bit longer, he'll be faster than Bez, or have you not thought about it?
Yeah, I think it would be natural for Martin to be a lot quicker than Bazaki. Sorry, I was going to say Bastianini there. Um, yeah, I think with Marco Bezzecchi, you have to look at him for what he is. Bizaki is not a number one rider in a team. He's a very good number two. He's a great supporting act. I think the way you have to look at Aprilia is you can't look at it as Martin and Bizaki. You've got to look at them as the unit that they put together. And I think what's going to happen is obviously Bizaki's kind of flying the flag at the moment, and I think he's struggling with having to carry it all on his own. But I do think when Jorge Martin comes back and when he properly clicks and gets to grips with his new bike, I think you'll see that factory Aprilia unit start to work really well together because they're two riding styles that really complement each other as well. I think you've got Jorge Martin sort of like smooth aggression, which sounds weird to say. And then you've got Bazaki, who
Oh
is a
yeah.
very natural complement to that as well. So I get Bazaki struggling, but I think they will work in tandem very well when Martin hits the track.
No, I mean I think they're getting on better than people thought they were anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
It did. Look, it sucked. We said it before. It does suck that Martin didn't start the season, and they could have worked. I think Bez could have shared some more data, and a couple of pit boxes next to each other with him, and it could have helped him. But look, there's only one. Look, hopefully, there's only one more race without Jorge Martin, so
Yeah.
it could help the whole Aprilia program. But we'll have to watch his space because I don't think anyone wants him to rush back, crash, and then be more injured, and that's absolutely a season done. I don't want that. Uh,
Mm.
we want him to be fit for the European season. Moving on, I want to talk about Honda because I was really impressed with Honda over the weekend. More impressed than I've been since 2021 when we saw Paulo Espargaro and Marc Marquez. I think they had a 1-2 in San Marino that people forget.
Yeah.
But they are second the constructors right now. It's brilliant to think that. I mean, Sarko had no fucking tyre left though. Um, to get there, he had to work bloody hard. P6 for Jean Zarco. Annoying that, I mean, he did get pipped by Didier. Great move from Didier. I love that section of track. Left, dip, over right and then left again. Great move from Fabio Di Giannantonio, and rightly so. He should be beating Zarco as well for
Yeah.
EP25, but just shows you the progress that they made and the work ethic of Johan Zarco. I mean, that's nothing to take away from. Also, his technical teammates, Mir and Marini, 9 and 10. I mean, you must have been loving it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, nobody loves a Japanese bike more than I do. And I think it's great to see Honda finally back, not at the front, but closer to the front than they are to the back. Let's put it that way. And I mean, listen, Johan Zarco, I think has been in the last 4 or 5 years perhaps the most underappreciated rider in the MotoGP paddock because A, he's a brilliant rider. B, he's by all accounts a lovely guy. And C, he's a brilliant, brilliant development rider. He is so good to have in your stable to build up a bike and to tell engineers what's good, what's bad, what do we need to improve, what do we need to fix. And I think you're seeing that, that RC213V, which doesn't roll off the tongue. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, try it for yourselves. But the Honda bike looks like it's unlocked at least something. It looks like acceleration in a straight line's better. It corners so much better than last year. And they look like they're at least putting some pieces together now where they're like, okay, Ducati and Aprilia are maybe better at this, but we can at least do this now. And, we can turn like a Yamaha does, but our acceleration maybe's improved a bit better. And I think it's great to see that Honda have done that and that they are finally building again. And I'm really excited to see what they look like come the end of the season because when you look at the constructors, they might be the third best constructor in this championship when all's said and done. And that would be very weird to say, but in a good way.
No, it would be weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, as you say, in a good way, it'd be busy, incredible, especially considering. Well, it's early days because we thought they were still not fast enough. They were they're almost a reverse of everyone's assumption from testing. They're ahead of Yamaha. They are literally ahead of Yamaha as we speak on the tracks we've just been to, folks. I say these things because we all assume, and then we go through the track and it's different again. But it's looking good. Touch wood so far. But the way you hear Mayer speak now as well, that he's sounding a lot more positive. It's just a good. I think it'd probably be quite an exciting project to be part of. Honestly. So fingers crossed, Honda can get some podiums. That'd be great.
That would be really good.
I think it's a better bike now than the KTM, mate. When you,
Yeah, I think so.
I can't believe I'm saying that. I mean, but right now it is. I mean, you've got course. I mean, you look at the results, folks. Course, you've got your typical Brad Binder finishing P7 because he's always there or thereabouts, and he was battling close to the front earlier on, and in the sprint as well. You got Pedro Acosta P8. Tell you what, I thought Acosta would wipe the floor from the get go this year with Binder, but Binder's obviously got a point to prove here. P7 and 8. We live in a world now where it's if you're outside the the top five, it doesn't mean the end of the world. It used to be sort of that's disappointing from one of the best riders, but now there's so many good riders. I think a top 10 is okay, unless you're expected to win like Pecco or Mark. But when you're Brad Binder and Pedro Acosta, who can get podiums and Brad can win, Acosta should have won last year. P7 and P8 before we move on, do you think that's not good enough still, or do you think that's a salvage job from what's going on at KTM right now?
Yeah, I think for KTM standards, I think it's nowhere near good enough. They've had 2 or 3 peak years in MotoGP where they could have put it all together and they just haven't. And I think what you're starting to see now is KTM are slowly starting to fall behind the others, Being behind Ducati, nothing wrong with that. Ducati have the most bikes, they have the best bikes. I have no issue with that. But they look like they're starting to fall behind the Aprilia now. And if Honda are on the ascendancy, they might be the fourth or the fifth best bike in the grid. And that really isn't good enough. Not for a brand like KTM. You know, Maverick Vinales and Enea Bastianini are in the wilderness at best. Brad Binder and Pedro Acosta are struggling massively. And with KTM, Jim, I don't see the direction. You know, with a certain bike like a Honda or an Aprilia, I can look at the bike and say, right, okay, they're not at the top, but I see where this is going. I see the direction. I see the plan. With KTM, I mean, I know they've got outside noise going on and all that, and that's understandable. But
Yeah.
on the MotoGP track, I just don't see the direction. I don't see the vision.
It's confusing, isn't it? It looks like they're confused. I think
Yeah.
I don't know whether the race department, if they hit the nail on the head with the 2025 bike, like so well and so, innovatively performance gaining, right? They'd smashed it and they'd found something, and they were that fast, and they were like they could win. Let's say they won one of the two races, Mark won the other. I don't think everyone will think, oh, yeah, race department. Well, of course they can do that. It's a separate department from what's happening at the headquarters. But because it isn't, it's easy to sort of assume that it's because of what's happening. Some people think this. It's easy to assume what's happening with their massive, 3 billion quid debt or less now. That it could be rubbing off on the racing. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I genuinely just think they haven't nailed the 2024 beg your pardon. Um, and they've got issues with it. It looks like a bit of a pig from
Yeah, it does.
it doesn't look. If you look at the 2023 bike was brilliant, and it had a really really trick launch device. Right, hate those things, but we have to talk about them because they're part of the sport now. Even though Brad Binder never managed to win a race this year, how many times did it that year? How many times did he finish P3? He was
Yeah.
on the podium all the time in 23. And 2024 was the worst bike. It was not as bad as right now. They have to make something very, very quickly because these investors and these lawyers are going to be thinking, well, you're not actually doing anything MotoGP right now, so we're going to put, you might as well get rid of it. That worries me. But we'll wait until we've had 5 rounds before we start getting really worried because obviously I think there's a deadline date, isn't there, for them to
Yeah.
lot a certain amount of money. So we'll leave that one for another day. But yeah, so KTM in trouble. Aprilia don't know really where they are. They have the potential to have an amazing bike right now. Yamaha, whoa, really weird bike. I'd say that's the weirdest bike right now because it could. I mean, Jack can put a cow on front row sometimes, and then he'll just go backwards, realizing it's a cow in the race,
Yeah.
or crash the cow on lap 3. But I don't know. And right now, we need more tracks to judge the Yamaha. I definitely would say that. Um, Rin's got a really yeah, got a Q2. Well, actually, there's a few Q2s, wasn't there, for the Yamahas? But he got a toe, didn't he, from Mark, I believe,
Yeah.
to get into Q2. What did you make of that?
I thought it was very clever. It's kind of that old adage of if you can't beat them, join them. And that's exactly what Alex Rins did, you know. He came out of pit basically begging for Mark to pull out in front of him. Thankfully, Marquez did. And yeah, he followed him around for the toe and got into Q2. But like you said, Yamaha's a bit of a weird one to judge because on one hand they look better, but on the other hand, they have the same old problems they've always had, which is they qualify decently and then during the race something happens, they start getting overtaken and they can't get back up again. It's very, very weird, Jim. I don't even know how to describe it.
No, I think a lot of people even working the paddock don't know yet where that bike really stands.
Is it still the rear grip? Is it like an ECU
Yeah, so
thing? I
it's,
don't know.
they've never been able to use all the power of that bike properly with ECU. When you're at trackside, certainly last year, you can hear the TC. You can hear it way more than any other bike in the grid. You can hear you can hear the Yamaha comes out of the corner, and you can hear that's the ECU cutting the power. And where the other bikes, it's so seamless, and they can go like it's a seamless noise, acceleration noise. This is me
Yeah.
analysing, folks. I'm not technology minded, but you can hear the engine being limited. It's like it's not meshing properly. I don't know if it's the same this year because they made it 8 tenths in testing, didn't they? Look,
Yeah.
but the Yamaha cannot race as well. That's evident. You can maybe do a good qualifying lap on Yamaha. That's still a thing even now. Then you can wring its neck and get it through to Q2, even without a tow. Sometimes we've seen that. The only thing is, it still can't battle in a group, and that is pointless because you have sprints now where you've got to even be
Yeah.
able to sniff of the points. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think we need to wait and see what the V4 is like. We might even see that testing. We might see shots of it and videos and clips of it testing in a month's time, 2 months' time. Because as soon as that's faster with their concessions, they can use it. So we'll have to wait and see. Uh,
Yeah, sorry, I just think my big worry with Yamaha is you can put in a V4, an inline four, you could put a W4 in if you want. My concern with Yamaha is I just don't feel like they're addressing the core problems here at all. And I hate to bring him up because he's not relevant at this point, but you can trace these Yamaha problems back to Valentino Rossi. In his final few years in the factory team, he said, this bike has no rear grip. You cannot put any power through the rear of the bike. Maverick Vinales couldn't do it. Fabio can't. How he won a world title is absolutely beyond my scope. Fabio can't do it. Rins can't do it. None of the Yamaha riders can use the full power of this bike. And I just think Yamaha are trying to find other things to do rather than address the core problem. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see any movement on these core issues that they've always had. It's really, is it stubbornness? Is it an unwillingness to
no,
admit that
it's
we
not
can't
anymore.
do this?
It used to be. I think it used to be a stubbornness thing, but I don't think anymore. It is that they've been hiring people left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
They've got the Marmarini M1 engine now, who used to design F1 engines, and he's designed the M1 engine the last year or so. So no, the engine's been looked after. The fact looking at, I mean, Honda are probably taking more staff than Yamaha by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Europe, not just listening to the Japanese. Um, but the rear grip thing has been an issue for a while. It used to be just so good on the front, didn't it? And it
Mm,
is, and but yeah, Fabio doing that. I think but that was before the wings took over. That was before.
true.
That
Very
was
true.
the wings were there then. The wings were in 2021, and they were. You can go back to as early as 2016, 17, 18, but they weren't as aggressive as they are now. Nowhere near. So it still had the M1 characteristics. So it was borderline in 21, but it was still that was the year the Ducati was coming of age. I would say now.
Very, very true.
Yeah. So a bit of a weird era that 21. Anyway, we need to move on. Maybe a little short pod this, but we get carried away. Um, Move on to Moto 2 actually, because as I said, there's 22 Grand Prix this year, and the more we judge each race, the sillier we look the next race, frankly. Um, Jake Dixon destroyed the field. It absolutely annihilated them. That's a one hell of a margin. I mean, that's I don't, Mark will probably only win by a few that distance a couple of times this year. We hope. But what an amazing ride! He did play it down to TNT Sports, like P5. I was like, yeah, is he just playing it down? Is he that confident? What did you make of that? Did you watch it? I'm guessing you watched it live,
I
or did
did. I
yeah,
did, yeah. And, you know, Jake Dixon is such a weird case to me because he is one of those riders that when he's on form, he can absolutely brutalize the rest of the Moto 2 paddock. I mean, if you don't believe me, you saw it in Argentina and you saw it in a couple of races last year too. When he is on top form, he is untouchable. Jake Dixon's problem has always only ever been consistency. That's the only problem. If Jake Dixon was slightly less spectacular but slightly more consistent, he'd be in MotoGP already. I have no doubt about that because he is so not. He's a very naturally gifted rider. And to be honest, I think he'd probably be there in place of Jack Miller, if I'm honest.
the problem. Yamaha. That's a niche one, but it would make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah, because he's got ties with Yamaha from doing the wild card, and yeah, yeah, that's his Achilles heel. You're quite right. It is the consistency. And it's sometimes happened when he's won. Like he really won a great race in Silverstone last year.
Yeah.
He won, obviously Assen the year before. He won Aragon. think it was Aragon. Yeah, won it Aragon as well. So, but Jake has a tendency to it goes to his head very quickly as soon as he's
Yeah.
won, and then his consistency's out the blue. Um, which is a shame. I don't think he. I'm glad he's gelled with this Boss Obscura chassis very, very quickly. That makes me feel quite happy for him, especially with the British interest, British podcast. And he seems to be really, really gelling really well. And if you've seen the social media videos, folks, or Keelan as well, he gets on well with his teammate Philip Salach, and they've got a good rapport with each other. And they were 1-2. I think briefly were they 1-2 in that race. Well,
Yes.
Salach is up there at the sharp end, and last year he wasn't doing enough. Just shows you how well, don't you think, this Boscoscura is? So yeah, I mean, potentially. Look, if he keeps winning, 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 you get to the halfway stage, Keelan. Um, and we don't see any more from a certain Fermin Aldeguer or Oliveira keeps crashing, or who knows. By then we might have the Liberty deal done. That keeps getting delayed. But I think if he's got, I think he's already. You mentioned MotoGP. I've got an awful feeling that ship has sailed, or it never did set sail. It never will, because I think you know, I think it's gone because a lot of teams are very, very age biased, aren't they these days? Um,
They are. They definitely are. And to be honest, and listen, as an Irishman myself, I'm always incredibly supportive of, UK and Irish representation. It's important for the sport. But like you, Jim, I've just got this feeling that either the ship only sailed very shortly or it never sailed to begin with. And I just think with Jake, I think it would be good for the sport if he was given a chance. I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. And it would have to be one hell of a Moto 2 campaign. Like, if he was consistent and he put it all together, we've seen stranger things happen. I just, in my mind's eye, I don't see it happening, which is such a shame because I think with his personality and what he brings with the UK fan base,
oh,
I think he'd be like the next Cal Crutchlow. I think he'd be brilliant for the sport being in the Premier class.
yeah,
But like you said, I just have a bad feeling it'll never happen and we won't see it.
yeah. I think, yeah, it saddens me, but yeah, I mean, even if he put an amazing campaign, he won like we won't win every race because Gonzalez is too strong. And great race by Vic Gonzalez, Vietti. I predicted those two would be on the podium, and never. I didn't think. Well, did I? And I think Jake was going to be second in my prediction, but I can't remember predictions from a week ago because my memory's shit. But yeah, Gonzalez will win a lot of races. Jake will win more. I think Jake will win more races this year. I don't think that'll be his only race. I think definitely not. He wins since 2023, two race wins. 24, two race wins. If all being well, he can win five races this year. I reckon, Jake. But when you have the likes of Gonzalez, Vietti, Canet will win races as well, of course. And the likes of you've got the rookies. Holgado is doing really well right now, I think. And Alonso will be unfit for a while yet, and it's frustrating what's happened to him. There's too many names for Jake to have it all his own way. Lopez will get there eventually, like as he's won races in the past, and very, very, very convincingly by big margins. Aren't you, Joe Roberts? Guevara's been quick. I mean, Alexis Green though, what the hell? That
Who
was
saw that coming?
yeah, I know. I was watching with my dad and my girlfriend and Alex and Alex's partner. We had Katie put a lovely food spread on, and the dad was like, "Who's that? Alexis Green." It's like, okay, we'll explain this to you, Dad. So yeah, really impressive. But I mean, you followed him for a while, haven't you? I mean, you go through the junior ranks, and then he's earned his way there. He's had a hard time getting there, being down low in the order. Do you think he can maintain that, or is it a one-off, or early days yet for Alexis Green?
I mean, I'll tell you what, I really hope Alex Scree can keep it together because, I mean, that was brilliant from him at the weekend. And I think, based on obviously talent, but you look at how he's meshed with his bike early on in the season, if Scree can really keep it together, he could be a big name in Moto 2 and a real left field name that nobody thought of. And those are always the best kinds of names, the ones that you don't see coming. I mean, I hope he keeps the form going, but I see no reason Alex Escree couldn't be one of the biggest names in Moto 2. I was very, very impressed.
Yeah, massively. So was I. And yeah, he was. He didn't really. He didn't deteriorate through the race like I thought he would, which is a bit ignorant of me to assume. But when he's usually lower than 15th, you do tend to think, oh, okay, he's still there. So fingers crossed. Early days yet, but yeah, I don't want to jinx it. But yeah, and Senna Aegis did very well in Thailand. Expected a bit more for him, but still a P13. These names, what I'm saying is these names are all big names now, and Ramirez will be there. But look, if Dixon can win 3.5 seconds in Moto 2, that's a big, big margin.
It's a lifetime.
That's a lot. It is, yeah. I mean, I think, of course, you guys will look up and you can find other races where people have won in the last couple of years like it. But that, I mean, for Dixon, that's good.
Oh yeah.
So well done to Jake, and I'm sure TNT are loving it and whatnot. But we'll see. Let's not get too carried away because, as we thought, it's probably too late now. But if it makes you think now, Jake knows the logic of this MotoGP malarkey. Why would you stay in Moto 2 if you don't think there's a chance? Do you just want to be able to say, I won the Moto 2 World Championship and then I went to World Superbikes? Because that sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does suck. Not that you not winning a championship. I'm just saying you won the Moto 2 World Championship and then you left the paddock to go to a production bike based series and not MotoGP. What do you think there?
Yeah, I think it's everybody's dream to win Moto 2 to get promoted to MotoGP, you know. Nobody wins Moto 2 to think, right, that's it, I've achieved everything I wanted. I'm going to World Superbike. Thanks for everything. I'll see you later. You know, you want to work your way through the prototype classes. That's the entire point of this, you know. You don't win Moto 3 to go to World Supersport. You don't win Moto 2 to go to World Superbike. You know, it's a phenomenal competition, and especially with Toprak and Nicolo Bulliga and Alvaro Bautista, it's a brilliant watch, but everybody wants to be in MotoGP and they want to be competing on the best machines with the best riders. So, I mean, if I was Jake Dixon, I would certainly be hanging around hoping there's one more chance to get to MotoGP. Because, like we said, Jim, this sport is crazy. You never know what can happen or where. It could be Pramac Yamaha, it could be a Honda team. You never know. Spots open up at times, and if you're Jake Dixon, what you're hoping is you put together the best Moto 2 campaign you can. You hope something happens in the biggest class and you're ready for the call. That's really all you can do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see. And he needs to keep his head down and not get carried away. He's got a great personality. The ego is there with Jake. I just hope he reins it in until he settles down and realizes he's got something for the championship. So we'll wait and see for that, for the sake of that. We'll wrap up a couple of minutes Moto 3 and then we'll wrap this up because it's a short one this week. One of the best Moto 3 races in recent memory. I feel like I said that a zillion times because I have. But I love watching it with five people and a couple of girls that have a vague interest in motorbike racing, and I mean vague, but know the names. And you look at them and they think, "Me, that was good," and like you're like, "Yes, yes, welcome to our world." But yeah, what a last lap that was. Some argy bargy in there, and I mean, Piqueras did touch the green, still kept the win. Weird. But yeah, that last set, everything was going on. We're not going to go. We're not. Me and Keelan aren't going to dissect this because just watch that last lap and yeah, enjoy it because it was brilliant. Um, but do you think that's the guy that we'll look at Moto3 World Champion? I think he just looks like he's got that savage stamp on, stamping his authority on the race there. That's what I got from Pequeras in that. As much as he might have touched the green, I feel like he looks like the master of this championship. He's the leader. Rueda will win races, but I don't know if he's got that. What do you think? Am I judging this too soon between those two? Do you think? I mean, Fernandez I think he's a spark and a fire. Really, what do you think about the three right now? And also the Ogden incident. I'm mixing questions here, but the Ogden incident with Ricardo Rossi.
Yeah, I think with Moto 3 more than any other class, immediate talent is much clearer much earlier. You know, it's like when Pedro Acosta was in Moto 3. We all said after the first race, yep, That's the guy. That's the guy that's going to win the championship, win Moto 2 and get to MotoGP. You see those kind of people and you just know that they're the guy. That being said, he absolutely should have been demoted. He hit the green. He should have been demoted a place. But that's neither here nor there. Angel Piqueras is such a talented kid, and I think he probably will be, the next Moto 3 star to start working his way through the classes. But yeah, I mean, aside from Angel Piqueras, what in the fresh hell was Ricciardo Rossi doing? You know, per Scott Ogden, the kid's just minding his own business. He's trying to do his race, and then he gets absolutely yeeted by Ricciardo Rossi for no
Oh,
reason whatsoever. And then the gumption of Ricciardo Rossi to start, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but all I'm saying is I feel for Scott Ogden, and I thought his interview was a lot more diplomatic than I would have been.
yes, I think he did very well with the media for that one. I'm sure it's not the first thing he said.
It
Before,
wasn't Jake Dixon, let's put it that way.
yeah, yes, I was there at Silverstone that day when Jake said that.
You probably heard him.
Yeah, it was, but yeah, I mean, Scott took it right. I think Ricky Rossi's he's got a bit of a history. He's known to be he's not got a history like I don't know Romano Fenati or anything like that. Not even like David Munoz to a degree, but that was really silly from arguably one of he probably is now the most experienced Moto3 rider on the grid. Definitely one of them.
Oh yeah.
Ricky Rossi's been, yeah. So that was not on, and I don't know what he felt like when he saw the replay. I'm hoping a bit of an idiot. I'm sorry if it was the other way around. I don't care if I'm a Brit and Scott Ogden is. I said, Scott, what are you doing? That's clearly. I think Ricky Rossi's. This is qualifying, folks. If you don't know what we're talking about, not the race. If you didn't see it, but Scott Ogden was on a flying lap. So was Ricky Rossi. Ricky Rossi goes for the inside on his flying lap, takes out Scott and gets annoyed with Scott was in the way. It's like, well, it doesn't work like that. So really silly and dangerous. I mean, I'd love to know if they've had a chat since then. If I've missed it and it's been on social media and they've had a chat and apologise, which well, Scott don't apologise, but yeah, I'm hoping, I'm hoping he does apologise because that was really bad. And Scott has really good pace in that KTM. But before we wrap up, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say I can't wait to see the day that finally Tayo Furasato wins a race. I know Alex wants it to happen soon because he is probably one of the most talented riders in that grid. Would you agree?
I would, without a doubt, yeah. I think Tayo Fursato even last season showed so much pace and so much potential. And I think this year you're seeing him really build on that and really develop it. I want to see Tayo Fursato compete for the championship because I think he's one of the best riders in that championship, and
Yeah.
I'm very confident in saying that.
He's got a lot of bad luck.
Oh yeah, he does.
I just hope that doesn't follow him through his career because we've seen it happen so much with so many other great riders. But yeah, early days yet, and I mean, like to Luca Lanetta, I think he's got massive potential in this category as well, and he showed it last year. But yeah, I mean, Rueda, I think it will be. I think it'll be between. It's looking like it'll be between Rueda and Piqueras, with Fernandez being the sort of Noriyuki Haga-esque nuisance in the way of them both. But we'll see. Look, it's easy to sort of judge after a few races before we get to Europe. We've still got another two races outside of Europe. We always say this Europe thing like that's the main championship. It's not. The points are all the same, so it all counts, folks. But yeah, when we say these things, I mean, as Keelan says, there's a lot more data obtained in the European races through testing and way more races in general. Um, Normal weather, you think? So we'll have to wait and see. I can't wait for the Red actually. Be away. We have to wait till Silverstone, which actually is a lot earlier. It's not going to be that long. But yeah, that's a bit of a different one as well. But by the time we get to, I'd say you could maybe say Qatar to a degree, but definitely Jerez. We'll have a better picture. We'll have a better idea, won't we, Keelan?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of stuff should become much clearer by then. So
Yeah,
yeah, looking forward to the clarity.
yeah. Let's hope we get. So I mean, and some better races in MotoGP. I'll have to wait and see. I mean, I just fingers crossed for Pecco. Martin's not going to be up to speed for a while. I think you're gonna be you struggle, folks. I know a lot of Acosta fans think he could win this year. I think you're in for a long year. Maybe a sprint, maybe a wet race. If they find something, maybe I'm wrong. And same goes for Brad Binder. But Aprilia are going to have it tough this year, so we'll have to wait and see. Early days, but Mark is looking deservedly. He got the ride he deserved. Sometimes, folks, the best rider winds up in the best bike, or car driver and best car. You've got to accept it. Um, does it mean you can turn off your TV? Of course it does. It's up to you what you do. But it doesn't mean the sport is bad. It just means someone is the best at it at that time. You remind yourself that before you knock the sport you loved and you tell your friends about, and then you immediately slag it off because you know at some point we'll have a refresh of rules in not too distant future, and we could be looking at a much more level playing field with Ducati not having hopefully the best bike by a country mile or so. Just keep your patience with the sport. It will get there. I think Keelan probably, hopefully you agree with what I just said, and I went on a tangent as well, but it will take time for the Ducati not to be the best bike anymore, or to have something that can easily beat it. It could be 2 years time. Have you had a thought about that domination or manufacturer, not rider, just the actual Ducati domination? Or
Yeah, it doesn't upset me because Ducati are the best at what they do. And, Ducati had 20 years of suffering, probably more. I'm not good at the arithmetic off the top of my head, but
it's just like that.
they had a lot of years before they won their first rider championship after Casey Stoner. They've earned their domination and it hasn't just fallen into their lap. They've consistently worked towards building the best bike. They've stuck to their principles and now they're reaping the rewards of it. Let me put it this way as a concluding note on my side. Don't be mad at Ducati for being good. Be mad at the other manufacturers for being bad and get them to step their game up.
Yeah, exactly that. It's not their fault they've done well. And you make a really valid point as well. 15 years separated. Stoner's title in '07 and Bagnaia's 2022 World Championship. People forget that because it's like, oh, you don't want to start the Ducati domination. What's happening with the Japanese? You've just watched Japan dominate the championship for the past 50 years. Just take it down a notch. So yeah, good point. But yeah, we need to wrap it up, folks, because we're rambling on here. Well, I am anyway. Keelan's just here for the ride. No, I'm joking. He talks less than me. But yeah, I'm sure if it was Alex here, we'd do another 40 minutes. But no offense. Yeah, we will obviously next weekend. This is recorded on a Friday before the non-MotoGP weekend, and we'll maybe do a little one next week as a preview for the Grand Prix of the Americas with Alex. We'll see who else we're with. It might be just me and Alex, but the week after that for the review, we'll see you there. So thanks again, Keelan. Obviously, we'll have you on a few times before me and you go to Silverstone. We'll touch on that more. We are going, folks. We will be there for the Thursday for the MotoGP Experience Day. We've organised that. So early days yet. We won't say what we're doing exactly yet, will we? Until it's final. But we are there, aren't we? So yeah, it's gonna be an expensive year, Keelan,
Yeah, tell me about it.
but it'll be good fun. So thanks for joining, mate. Really,
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
as always, and yeah, pleasure. So we'll see you next time, folks. Bye bye.